Hi everyone. Imagine if we all went outside after church for a game of tag. But right before we start, I say to you, I've got a brilliant idea. I'm going to put this blindfold on while I chase you. I reckon I can still find you and tag you. If I actually did that, what do you think would happen? I'd probably trip over a chair, smash into a wall, or run straight into Roger's tummy. It sounds completely silly, doesn't it? But in the Bible, in Proverbs chapter 12, verse 15, it says something just like that. It says, "The way of the fools seems right to them, but the wise listen to advice." A fool is just a Bible word for someone who makes really silly decisions. And the verse says that fools always think they're right. It's like walking around with a blindfold on, saying, "I don't need any help, I know exactly where I'm going," but right before you bump into a lamppost. Our big idea today is this: wise people don't think they know everything. Being wise doesn't mean you're a genius with a massive brain who gets top marks in every single test. Being wise just means knowing when to say, "Actually, I'm not sure how to do this. Can you help me out?" God gives us people who love us. God gives us people who love us to take care of help us take our blindfolds off. People like our mum and dad, our teachers at school, our grandparents, or our leaders at church. When they give it us wise, like telling us to sell our stuff or stop doing something dangerous, they aren't trying to spoil all our fun, they're just trying to stop us from crashing. So this week, let's try to be wise. When a grown-up who loves you gives you some advice, don't say, "I already know." Instead, let's pause, listen and say thank you. Let's pray together. Dear God, thank you for giving us people who love us and give us good advice. Help us to be humble and wise and listen to others instead of thinking we know it all. Amen. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody. It's good to be with you this morning. I'm George, part of the team here, and very excited for All Age August, although we're still in July. We just couldn't wait to get started. Thank you so much, Caleb. You've obviously been the star of the show this morning. Now you've got me. So, we have got... Yes, thank you. Thank you, Stu. I needed that, and that was lovely. Right, so we have got a little mini-series going on that Caleb has kicked off for us, which is How Not to Be a Fool. We're looking at the book of Proverbs, and Proverbs talks an awful lot about fools. And Caleb did a fantastic job of explaining what a fool is and why you shouldn't be one. But more often than not, when I read the book of Proverbs, I recognise myself in the fool quite a lot. As he's kicked that off, we're also going to be looking at some other topics as well through the book of Proverbs. Proverbs was actually the first book of the Bible that I read myself. I don't know why, it just happened to be. And I've always really liked it because it's so straightforward. It just says what it means and is really clear. And it doesn't mince its words. It's like, don't be a fool. I was like, okay, that's helpful. So, the book of Proverbs describes itself in the first 6 verses. So I'm going to just read those to us. It's written by, most of it is written by King Solomon, who, as we know, was the wisest person. So it's probably worth taking note of. The Proverbs of Solomon, son of David and king of Israel. Here are proverbs that will help you recognize wisdom and good advice and understand sayings with deep meaning. They can teach you how to live intelligently and how to be honest, just and fair. They can make an inexperienced person clever and teach young people how to be resourceful. These proverbs can even add to the knowledge of the wise and give guidance to the educated, so that they can understand the hidden meanings of proverbs and the problems that the wise raise. So there are lots of different themes throughout the Proverbs, and we've just picked a few that we're going to be focusing on the next 5 weeks. And today, we're looking at choosing friends wisely. This is a theme that runs a bit through Proverbs and is an important one for us today, I think, as well. Proverbs 17:17 says, "A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for a time of adversity." Friendship's important, isn't it? Who here has got a best friend? Ooh, not so many. Who's got a friend? All right, that's a bit more reassuring. Good. Okay, what makes a good friend? Just shout it out. Trust.
Kind.
Loyalty. Kind. Honesty. Accountability. Yeah. Acceptance. Money. And I think someone said time. Care. What was that one? Fun. That's an important one. Good. We all want friends, don't we? And we all need friends, particularly at the moment of adversity, which means when things aren't going well in our lives. There'll always be times in our lives where sometimes things just go wrong, and we can't manage it by ourselves. And actually, even with God, we have that amazing relationship with God, which is the most important relationship. But God still said it's not good for a person to be alone. So we need each other. So friendship is really important. How can we be a good friend? And what should we look for in a friend? Choosing friends wisely. Well, one of the first things that sprang to my mind in Proverbs was this verse, which is in chapter 27, verse 17. As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. So, I might need someone who's a bit more experienced than me to do this. Does anyone know what this is? Owen, you volunteered yourself by being the first person to say. Please, could you come forward? We have here a knife and a knife sharpener. Now, I don't know how to sharpen a knife, but my guess is that you do. Could you show us how to sharpen this knife, please? You carry on. Now, if I asked you to sharpen that knife with this stick instead, would that work? Why wouldn't it work? Why has it got to be iron or steel?
Because it sharpens.
Why won't this stick?
You don't cut through that.
Okay, so it has to be something hard and strong. As strong as the knife.
It's pretty strong in steel as well.
Made of the same thing. Very helpful. Thank you. Could you just put those down there for a second for me? Thank you. So, what does this picture that is written for us in the book of Proverbs mean to do with friendship? Well, if I was to ask you the question, who is sharpening you, would that make sense? If you are a knife, what are you there to do? You're there to cut things, to slice things, to break things apart. Fairly effortlessly, hopefully, because if I was to try and use a stick to cut a piece of meat, it wouldn't work very well. But if I pick a knife up, what do I expect it to do? I expect it to cut through. But if a knife has gone blunt, it's not very useful. You were designed for a purpose. You were designed to be able to cut through. God has put a purpose on your life. What does it look like for you to be sharpened like a knife? Have you got friends who are going to ask you the tough questions? Have you got friends that are going to set you an example? Have you got friends who are going to occasionally pick you up when you've done something not so great? Because you'll notice in the process of the knife being sharpened, it creates friction. It's probably not the most comfortable thing for a knife, but it needs something where the friction is created so that it is sharpened. If you just try to sharpen it with a stick, that's not going to do anything. It can be a little bit uncomfortable, the process of being sharpened as a person. I'm very lucky that I have people in my life who will tell me when I've done something a bit silly, who will give me advice on how I can be better, who will tell me when I'm doing something great and encourage me to carry on doing it. But if I just have friends who are just there for a good time and they don't ever speak into my life and challenge me, then am I getting sharper? Not necessarily. A good friend will sharpen you. And the purpose that God has given you, which is different for all of us, each of us have got a different purpose. Ultimately, the purpose is to glorify God and to enjoy relationship with him, to share the gospel, to be family. But how can we do that? Well, we need people who are going to keep us sharp, not let us go blunt. The second verse that came to mind was Proverbs 13, verse 20, which says, "Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm." And then, very similar to this, in 1 Corinthians 15:33, it says, "Do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character." Have you ever gone to a fruit bowl to take a piece of fruit and picked it up and found underneath it's a little bit rotten or a little bit mouldy? In that scenario, I quickly try and take it out and compost it or throw it away, because I know that if I leave it in there, what's it going to do to the rest of the fruit? It's going to spread very quickly. Why it does that is because I've done some scientific research, and plants release a natural plant hormone called ethylene. And when a fruit is damaged or old or ill, it releases a lot of ethylene, which then causes all the other fruit around it to then ripen very quickly and then potentially go rotten quickly. So you heard the saying, bad apple. One bad apple spoils the whole bunch. You heard of that saying before? I've heard it quite a lot growing up, where people were, we were doing something a bit silly as a group, and then someone said, "Well, who's the bad apple then?" What they meant was, who's the person that started this silly idea that you're all doing? There can be people in our lives, sometimes out of our control. It might be people who we live with, it might be people who we work with, it might be people who we sit with at a table at school. We don't really get a choice about those things necessarily, and they might be not the best influence. They may be people who don't think very nice things about other people. They may be people who are very lazy. There may be people who don't respect the person that's trying to teach you something. There may be people who use words that aren't very glorifying to God, that aren't very nice. We're quite impressionable people. If I spend time around someone who has a very strong accent and I go for coffee with them, without even thinking about it, by the end of the conversation, I am imitating very badly their accent. And then you realise, and you're like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? We are naturally born to imitate things that we see. If I spend time around a lot of people who are using bad language, I'm very good at not using bad language around them. But then I take myself out of that situation, and then the thoughts that come into my head of what I should say in this situation are different. And I don't say them, or try not to say them, but why is that thought coming into my head? Why is that word suddenly part of my vocabulary that's coming up? Well, it's because I've been around people who are using it a lot. It's important who we get to spend time with. Sometimes we can choose that. We can choose to spend time with people who are going to be good influences, who are going to glorify God, who are going to be kind, compassionate, thoughtful, respectful. And where we have the opportunity to do that, we should. But we should also be conscious of when we are not able to do that and we're in situations and how that may compromise us. But this might leave us with a tension. I hope it does leave you with a tension if you were to just take those first 2 points and go, okay, so I'm to spend time with good people who are going to make me better. and I'm to not spend time with bad people who will make me worse. Now, I hope that you feel a little bit uncomfortable with that message. Because if you've read the Bible or you've come to church for any length of time, hopefully you've realised that that's not how we're supposed to live as Christians. So to bring these two tensions together and to figure out what we should do, it made me think of this bit of teaching that Jesus gave in Matthew, where he talks about salt and light. I haven't got the chapter written down here, but I think it's chapter 5, Nikki. Is that right? Fantastic. Okay, I'll read these verses. You are like salt for the whole human race. But if salt loses its saltiness, there is no way to make it salty again. It has become worthless, so it is thrown out and people trample on it. You are like light for the whole world. A city built on a hill cannot be hid. No one lights a lamp and puts it under a bowl. Instead, it is put on the lampstand, where it becomes light for everyone in the house. In the same way, your light must shine before people so that they will see the good things you do and praise your Father in heaven. So, here we have some other things. These are not weapons. We've got some packets of crisps. Who likes crisps? Good. Okay. So these are, I don't actually normally get these ones, but they're perfect for this illustration. So I'm hopeful it will be what I'm expecting inside. Right. Who would like some crisps? Julia, please come forward. Right, can you just hold on to that packet of crisps for a second for me? Okay, I've just got to do something with this other one. Why don't you have a crisp while you're waiting? Are they nice? Nice-ish. How long are you supposed to shake it for? Okay. Right. Try one of those ones instead. Would you like a crisp? Okay. Is that one better? Great. Would you mind passing them to my son? He's a crisp fanatic. Thank you very much. So the first packet that Julia took a crisp from was just plain crisps. The second packet was salted crisps. What is salt good for? Salt is good for bringing flavour. Not just salty flavour, but actually sometimes having a bit of something salty then brings out flavour in other things. The other thing salt is really good for, if you've ever cut your foot and gone for a little swim in the sea, is pretty good at sterilising and cleansing. A bit stingy, but it keeps it clean. So salt is really important in life. And Jesus says we are to be like salt. You see, salt can lose its saltiness. How can salt lose its saltiness? I Googled this. How can salt lose its saltiness? And this is what Google AI told me. Salt can lose its flavour or become useless if it is diluted by being washed away with moisture or if it is mixed with impurities and additives that degrade over time. So if I'd got some salt, which had been mixed with a little bit of dirt and some other stuff and some dust and whatever, and put that in on the crisps, it probably wouldn't have added such a nice flavour. The reason it added such a nice flavour was because it was just salt. But the other packet of crisps has still got the salt sealed in its packet, separate from the crisps. Now this salt is very salty. It's completely separate. It's not been diluted. It's not been mixed with anything. So they're very useful, but actually it's not being used. So I think this, in my head anyway, holds this tension really nicely together. Because salt does need to be salty. It if it's lost its saltiness, then it's no good. So it does need to be kept pure and useful. But it's never been meant to just stay in the packet. It's been meant to be used and poured out. And in the same way, I think that applies to us. We are supposed to think about and be deliberate about who we are friends with. He's coming very close to that knife, Molly. Yes, you can take the crisps. It's highly irresponsible parenting. I'm busy. Where was I? Goodness, I thought we were about to have some sort of disaster. So, we are supposed to be careful about who we hang out with, because if we hang out with people that are going to be bad influence all the time and we have no good influence, our good character that God is working on, it's not because we're better than anyone else, it's because Jesus is transforming us by his power and his grace. If we're not careful and guarding ourselves and our hearts, then we will not be as useful. Our salt will not be as salty. We will not be able to make good flavor. We will not be able to cleanse people who are wounded. This is a bit of a picture, but I hope you're getting the meaning. But if we are to just stay here, gathering on a Sunday morning, having a lovely time, but then we never, ever hang out with people who aren't in this gathering, and we avoid gatherings at work or at school because they're not Christian, they're not being saved by Jesus, they're not being made new, then actually we are not being any use, because our purpose is to be salt, which is to bring flavor, is to bring cleansing through the work of Jesus. So, who is sharpening you? Jesus, that's correct. I'm pleased you were listening. Fantastic. Who is sharpening you? And what influences are you surrounding yourself with? Because who we choose to be friends with is important, and it matters to Jesus, and it makes a difference to the way we live our lives. I'm done.